much. We work together in partnership. For those people that are watching, and hello, Michelle, a few people are just joined in. I mean, I feel, Cindy, you know me well. I've gotten to know you, and the opportunity to interview you, the opportunity to, just kind of get you in front of a few people. I am more blessed than ever, because there isn't another person out there that I would work with as a partner in this area and what we're doing. I'm sorry. It comes full circle, but we keep on going on. There's a lot to do, right, in this industry. And, there's those that are choose the independent. For somebody that wants to grow it as a lifestyle business, you want to work with, 10 or 15 people a year. That's awesome. I know that if we grow it and we set the support system and infrastructure in proper, like a system, if you will, we're allowed to do more and help more people. But we can only do that by getting the right support and getting the right support for the team. And as we grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It really, and I got to tell you, these agents that are independent, like, you can't do it all. I'm going to tell you right now, based on what I've done in the last 2-3 weeks, it's unbelievable how the market is just went. Phew.
And digital's here to stay.
Cindy, yeah, but the amount of work, paperwork, things, it's a lot. And between the viewings, the bookings, getting everything organized, offers going in, you're in multiples. And sometimes I've had to written 5 or 6 offers for the same client for the last 3-4 days, because it's 26 offers, 27 offers. It's a lot. And like I said, those agents that are independent, I wish the best of them and congratulations. But for me, being on a team, I think is one of the best things. That I used to be independent when I first started, but being on a team, the support that's there, and, picking up the phone like I did with you the other day, 9:00 at night, hey, listen, I need you to do me a favor. I need to book a viewing. And, you go online because I'm in the car with my client. It really does work.
And I loved that, Cindy, because that kind of started, if anything, and what I'm going to share is by you doing that, it's just, things are they're falling more into play, where this is what we do here, this is what we do there. And then, and I love this industry, what do they say? The industry it's not, real estate is not complicated. It's not easy though. So a lot of people will come into this, and there's just a lot of things that we can get doing that don't necessarily serve, if you will. But when you really, and then you're getting into it, and then you're starting to work with different people, there's all this other stuff that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it amazing, because I'm not shy. And I found when I came into the industry, it was a bit of a wake-up call, where it's a little bit dated. It's very dated. Do all these homeowners understand? It's not, and I'll be honest, I'm the first one to admit, before I came into the industry, you know what I knew about real estate? I thought I knew. Yeah, I knew this much.
Yeah.
So I'd rather deal with the truth than try to, because like you said, Cindy, every time you're helping someone, it's a process. It's not a transaction. It's not you're pushing a product and selling toilet paper.
Oh no, it is. It's a relationship, and I look at it totally on a relationship. Like the clients that I'm working with right now, because we've been out so many times and we've been in multiples and we've lost out, so I'm spending more time with them. And I really realized in the last couple of months that when you really give that relationship to your clients, and it really goes a long way, because they really end up trusting you and going all the way. And that's when you start getting referrals. When I first started this business, I was transactional thinking, and it doesn't work. No. Because it's not long lasting. It's going to be short-lived. It's going to be short-lived because people are going to know your ulterior motive behind what you're doing. And people nowadays are more and more educated, and you can't get away with what you used to do 15, 20 years ago with the internet and everything. I've got clients who tell me, oh, I heard my neighbor just sold for XXX, and because they can get it on all these different sites. So, just be real with them. I find, really understanding them and being real, and listening to them just goes a long way. And, listen to their sorrows, listen to their pain, because there's some really horrible stories behind some people and why they have to move. And I think if you take that time, it'll definitely be a relationship for life. And that's how I look at my clients. I want my clients for life. I don't want them for just that one relationship and then on to the next one, because it doesn't work for me. Well, you know me, Michelle, I'm a very personal
I
person.
know. Well, and I think that's burning. I've got a burning question, and I think so. So the first, like I said, it's such a privilege, Cindy, to work with you, have you as a partner, and you are more than the bulldog negotiator. You are more than the gear shifter. You are, and you know how to put it together, and you know how to get people, as I would say, across the finish line, because you're. Well, you just said it. What are we dealing with right now? Do you think there's a shortage of homes in the market?
Yes. Quality homes. Yeah. What my clients are looking for, there's a huge shortage. And like I said, like the last few that we've seen that are turnkey, that are nice. And again, agents nowadays, because of this bidding war, multiple offer situation, a house is worth like 556 and they're pricing at 399. Yeah. And it's, trust me, I've been to a lot of places with one client in particular. I think we've seen about 30.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, of the 30, maybe 3 of them are half decent. And those are 3 or 4. And those are the ones where we don't win. Like one house went 120,000 over asking. So it's tough. It's tough. I mean, in this market, but again, it's a seller's market. So you just got to roll with the punches, go with the flow and keep finding stuff. And hopefully you'll find them the really dream home and everything works out, right?
You are very humble. You are very humble, because I've seen you, and everybody that's watching, like Cindy is one of the best. She's the best in the industry. She knows her stuff. She knows, and because we got to realize, folks, this is a legal based industry. We sure don't want, knocking on the door in RICO and, oh my goodness, we didn't protect that person from a clause, from this, from that. And that's so important. But you just have this ability, Cindy, where, so the way that we work, folks, here is we work like a team. I'm very strong on bringing people to us, if you will. That doesn't mean they're going to work with us. They're just asking more questions. And then setting up the time and then onboarding them to work with us. And then Cindy and I would come together, or Cindy may, I might book a call. Cindy might, take that and convert. We've got a few other people, if you will. But once we've got an agreement and we're working with them, Cindy, people they connect with you. And once you get out there, I've seen you where you know what to highlight, you know what to watch out for, and you're educating them. And that's
our job.
That's our job. So let me ask you this.
Well, I don't consider it a job, but
it's a passion.
I love it. You see, it's really funny because I have a lot of people tell me, like, sometimes they'll text me 11 o'clock at night and I'll respond back and they're like, what are you doing? I said, but to me, this doesn't seem like work. This to me is like, it's not a job. It's so much fun. Like I've been in this industry since I was a kid because my parents, I can't even tell you how many times I moved when I was younger. My parents owned commercial property. So I've been pretty much raised in this environment. And it's just so enjoyable to me. I really take after my dad because he always said real estate, buy real estate. And it's in me. And it's so much fun. It really is fun. Like my client, and they can tell, I think a lot of my clients can tell that this is not like mundane and, oh, here's another one. Like it's fun. Like I laugh, I joke, and we have a really good time.
Well, I've seen you where we've gone on to joint meetings and you're taking someone through the commercial contract, or they're looking at trying to find a new buyer for their business. And the first thing you do, you know exactly where to look, what to look for. And I know, Cindy, there's a lot of people out there that, they do things, they're on their own, they're doing their homework, they love it. I think one of the things that I really, really emphasize is the importance of working with a professional. So real estate is a legal based industry. So whether it's an independent, whether you're working with us, it's so important that you understand that. But I do want to kind of come over to, you've been really successful, Cindy, when it comes to also understanding pre-construction.
Oh yeah, that's my baby.
Yeah.
I love pre-construction. I've been doing it since I was 33.
Okay. So
way before I even got into the industry, before I became a realtor, pre-construction for me, it was my ticket to being wealthy, actually, to be honest with you, because at the time, I mean, can't find this anymore in Burlington, but I bought a corner unit townhouse double car garage on a ravine for $235,000. Like, I mean, in Millcroft, by the way. And then when I started seeing the appreciation value, and I only had to live there for a year. And at the time, Burlington was just starting to grow. So there was other development, especially up in Alton Village and all that. That's how I made majority of my wealth. I would, and trust me, it's not a lifestyle for everybody, because you pack everything, you live very minimal, because you're moving literally in a year to a year and a half. But my success on that was so huge. Like every time I moved, it was like, okay, I just basically made $110,000, $120,000 for like living here for a year. And I bought another one that's ready in a year, year and a half. So I coordinate the closing dates and all that, which is tough. Sometimes it doesn't always work. So be aware of that. But it was such a great way to make tax-free money. And when I meet people nowadays who want to buy their first home, I love it, because it's like, you guys are going to see the value from the time you buy it to the time that you move in. You're going to be floored. I mean, listen, there are some new pre-constructions where I don't think the value's there. There's one in particular that I know of. My clients wanted to buy, and I said no. And they were like, why? I said, I'm going to tell you right now, they're $100,000 overpriced. And lo and behold, within not even 6 to 8 months, the builder actually lowered the price by $100,000 and revamped them, tried to re-market them. And I had to laugh, because I told the lady at the sales center, you're way overpriced. Good luck to you. Yeah. And that subdivision still to this day is sitting there, and they're still trying to sell them. Whereas other developments in the same area have sold out within like literally a weekend.
So that leads me to the next question. What, in your opinion and your experience, Cindy, is the impact for buyers that are out there and they're just looking to buy new construction, and they reach out to the developers directly? What did they get? Do they get client service or customer service?
They get customer service. Those people at the sales centers, they're for the builder. They're not for you. They're there just to sell the units. They're not going to tell you all the loopholes, development charges, talking about cap and fees. You'll find some builders that will talk about it, but some of them, they don't see anything. I have a really good friend of mine. This was a while back, bought a house from a developer. I'm not going to mention the name. Failed to mention that HST was not included in the purchase price. So upon closing, when she found out what she had to pay, she was like, this doesn't make any sense. So those are little things like, and that's why it's really important to always be represented, whether you're going to the builder or not. You want to make sure that you've got someone guiding you. Like, people need to understand like position of the home, what features to look for, capping the fees, like what is the developer doing? Do you have a plan of the garden, of the landscape? Like, those are things that a lot of people don't ask. And sometimes it's not in the brochure that the builders give you within all the paperwork. So you're paying a fee, like a development fee, like landscaping fee of like $850 to find out you don't even have one tree in your backyard. So if that's the case and you're looking at it, so that's why it's important to put something in it. And that's why you need to talk to a lawyer and say, listen, if there's no tree planted in my backyard, that landscaping fee comes back to me. And you can do that. And a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
They don't know that. They think whatever the builder says is gold. I have to like be handcuffed, bound by them. And that's not necessarily true.
Well, no, and I remember actually, because I came to think of it, this was before COVID, and you were working with, because we were, and this is, I think, is the other thing too, folks, is, when we're out there making decisions, do we get into the industry? We don't get into the industry. Just, remember this is not, when you become a realtor, you're not just sales, you're solution thinking. They might call you sales rep, but I'm telling you, doing a whole lot more capability than what just the sales does. So this was, it was a gentleman, I think it was Mohammed. He was a doctor, and I know he was looking. And you had actually kind of came in because you were we had somebody that was working with us on the mentoring side, And you were able to negotiate the builder I think it was dropping the price. Mm-hmm. Because you found out they were in their last little bit of inventory. But I mean, I don't know how many people, like, I think this is where it really drives me. So many people, Cindy, can make decision on what I would call myth, or they think they know, and they don't understand that this is what they're getting. So why would they not look for a realtor to help them? But then again, how many realtors out there are taking the time to really get to know their inventory? Because I know as a professional, Cindy, we got to know our inventory. We need to know our product.
And you know, when you're talking about like dealing with a builder, you got to be careful too, because if the builder knows, like, just for instance, like I live in Waterdown and there's a subdivision right around the corner for me. From the moment that they open, that parking lot's been jammed. So when you cannot really start hardballing and negotiating with a builder when there's 15 homes being sold and there's 100 people who want them. So again, supply and demand will take that into consideration when you're working. But I mean, definitely like the development charges, all those things should be capped. They should, and a lot of people don't know about them. They sign an agreement, they're so excited, oh, I bought a brand new house, only to realize upon closing, and I've seen a couple people this happen to, where they're short because the development charges are like $15,000, $20,000.
And they don't mortgage those. You have to have that to close.
Right, because if your mortgage broker tells you, okay, you're qualified for $350 and you're buying something for $360 or $380, saying you've got $30,000, and you've taken into consideration certain closing costs, but you're not capping any of those charges, the developer sometimes can put it to whatever he wants. Some of them don't even have a cap, like they don't even say to a maximum. It'll say to a minimum or something like that. Like you got to be very careful. I can't express how important it is to make sure that you have your lawyer. Like when you're, first of all, definitely work with a realtor when you're dealing with pre-construction. It doesn't hurt. We're here to help you. Yeah. And make sure that you do have a lawyer review, because I've heard too many horror stories of people buying brand new, like especially some with condos. I had another friend of mine, didn't work with me. This was a long time ago. I didn't have my license, bought a condo in Shepherd, Bayview Village, I think somewhere in there. Okay. The closing cost, the developer charges on that development was $35,000. $35,000. And I mean, especially if you're a first-time home buyer and you have your savings and you work so hard for that, to all of a sudden find out at closing you're with the lawyer and he's like, okay, you need to bring a check for X amount. And you're like, what happened? So that's why having a realtor is so important, to make sure that they're advising you and telling you of all the things that you need to do. And a lot of these new homes that are being built are condo towns.
Yes.
That's another thing. People think when you buy pre-construction, it's a freehold. Well, you got to make sure that, is it a freehold or is it a condo town? Because if it's a condo, you've got a cooling off period. So there are options out to you. And a lot of people, when they buy pre-construction, they don't even take it to their lawyer. They just think, I bought a house, it's a freehold. Okay, I'll give it to my lawyer prior to closing. And then that's when they find out that they're in a lot of trouble. And I've seen a lot of people do that as well. You know, it costs you nothing to get a realtor. No. Let us do our due diligence for you and let us work for you, because that's what we're here for. We're here to protect you.
So that leads me to another question, because we're licensed realtors. I'm not a licensed mortgage broker. No. So, but in order to be able to help people, that's a really good, important, like they're the other half, if you will. So what's been your experience, Cindy, with different, different mortgage brokers, and what has been your experience with what developers are asking for? Like, are they asking for, and we know the deposit structure, but what about, because the property's not built, they're buying a contract. So what's been your experience with the approval side of things? So if somebody's going to think about buying new.
Builders are asking for approval now, and they want the approval from the mortgage broker to be at least 2 years to hold the rate for 2 years.
Are you seeing that right now?
Which nobody knows what's going to happen in 2 years. I kind of laugh about that because it's like, and what's really interesting about that is a lot of mortgage brokers won't do that because they can't really honor that, because no one knows your financial situation, what it's going to be in 2 years, what interest rates are going to be. But what builders are doing is they're having their own people, like own banks that they're pushing you to work with to hold that rate. And that in the event, if anything does happen with your situation, that they will still close regardless. And to me, I'm going to tell you that's a benefit to the builder. It's not a benefit to anybody, to be honest with you, because I know the builder, he's going to like, okay, yeah, they got to close. Like, I don't know. To me, I just think it's kind of fishy. Whenever the builder's pushing you to use your own mortgage people, I just kind of think, well, what's in it for the builder? I think there's a little catch to that, but to each their own. You can choose to if you want to, but I mean, we've got a slew of mortgage brokers that we use that are pretty fantastic, and they've been great. I've had no problems, but.
And I know, and you know, like we go back to when you become licensed, you have what we call the fiduciary duty. So we actually have Joyce just joining because a few people from Eventbrite, they might be coming in. So
yeah, okay.
I'm just gonna let Joyce get connected, and then so yeah, from a mortgage broker kind of standpoint, we have fiduciary duties. So yeah, there's no fees. Like we work with our people, but so we've got a few mortgage brokers that we work with. Why? Because Cindy, as you say, we need to know what the experience is going to be like. We need to know that they can think outside of the box, that they've got strong relationships. It's not just, oh, I sent it to here and to here, and oh, you didn't get qualified. That's not the kind of people we want to work with.
You know, I ask people, do you work with the bank? Like, you know, some people want to work with the bank. They've got a great relationship with the mortgage broker at the bank. By all means, go. That's fine. Like, I'm not here to push anybody on anybody. But you have some people, like, I find a lot more people are actually more going towards brokers than going with banks because the rates are better with a broker than they are with banks. I'm finding that more and more and more. But I mean, if people, it's up to the individual themselves who they want to work with. If they're comfortable working with the bank, let them work with the bank and whatever bank they want to work with. Like, but if they do ask me, I do give them 3 or 4. And I tell them, call each one of them, whoever you feel comfortable with. Then if you want to work with them, then by all means, go ahead, right?
Yeah. And similar to what I would say, because I mean, you know, for those of them, where I do a lot of the inbound, and the first thing I will say to them, if I need to know if they're pre-qualified and if they're active. And if they're not pre-qualified, the next question I generally ask them is, do they have a really good relationship with their bank?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then we kind of go from there. But I'm really curious. So I've got a couple of other questions and just want to say hello to Joyce for joining. So Joyce, we have Cindy Zupanovic with us. Cindy's my partner, Hamilton Halton. And I finally get the opportunity to interview Cindy. So, and for Joyce and Michelle, and hello, Tammy, where has Cindy been? On the road right now, because we're just working with a lot of buyers right now. There's not a minute. We have a few people that have been contemplating on selling. I think we're going to see some interesting things unfold in the fall, but we won't know. We just know that there are a lot of people looking to get into the market right now.
A lot.
Yeah. So
that's what's driving the prices up. That's all I got to say. Because I mean, I don't think I've worked with so many buyers in such a short period of time in years. Like it was just all of a sudden it was like a few. And then within the last month, it went from here to like here in a matter of like days. I was like, oh my God.
I know. And on top of all of it,
I need your help. I'm like, okay.
We have COVID hit, right? So we had a couple of other people that were with us for the young families. And it can be a balancing act. I know I've been there with when my kids were young. And you got to pray, and there's homeschooling and there's this and there's that. And we're a full service. So, we kind of look for full-time people. And similar that, for us, we don't look for people that want to come out there and just push a product. We're not the right fit for you. We're not. We are truly here, and it doesn't matter to me if we're the few that are doing it differently. I always say, and Cindy, you can attest, we have the problem that most realtors want.
Yep, we do.
But we're not just going to onboard to be, we're going to be the right people will show up that are going to work with us. But we
Mhm.
have a lot of that problem. We don't have a problem with bringing more leads in and converting. It's really comes down to, and this kind of leads me to that next question. You know what, Cindy, I've seen a lot. You've been in this industry longer than me. I I I came into it. And I started a little company where I helped companies grow, and I came into this industry less than 6 years ago. But my interest is, I find it very interesting, and bless all that are in the industry. But for people that do the above and beyond, because you do the above and beyond for every one of your clients. I mean, Cindy, I've seen you go to the lengths of, oh my gosh, honey, it's a, like, this is what they want. But I've seen you've gone above and beyond where you're negotiating with the lawyer, and the lawyer then agrees, and then you get this person to do it because you know your law. You've got a memory like an elephant, and you care immensely. So I'm really curious, Cindy, what is your advice? If two questions. One, someone that's thinking about coming into this industry, what do you think the role really is, and what advice would you give them?
I think it really depends on what they're looking at doing. I mean, you have some people who, you know, take the bull by their horns and they go independent and they do their own thing and become very successful. And then you have some people who want the guidance, want the, you know, they're unsure about their paperwork. They're like, so it really depends on that individual. My only suggestion that I say to them is really understand your clauses, understand the legal ramifications behind what you're doing. You know, like I've seen some offers that have come in and I just shake my head because I'm thinking, wow, like you're not protecting your client. And people need to understand you can get sued. And so don't come into this lightly. Just don't come into thinking, oh, the money, and it's going to be great, because by the time you pay your taxes, the HST and this and that, it is a great business. I love it. I enjoy it. But really, it's like you were saying, Michelle, it's a legal based industry. So you better know your stuff. You better be pretty confident knowing your clauses and what to put, like, you know, like some people have put things in, like there's a fireplace and they don't put, like, insurance could be affected if it's a wood burning and they don't have that in there. Like, and then all of a sudden, like I said, on closing, then all these people are like, the insurance, I can't close, I don't have insurance. Then they're calling around and and actually it's really funny because we almost had that situation with your sister, actually.
Oh,
we had that situation with your sister where the agent was calling me freaking out. And we got it done, like, because I ended up calling and talking to your sister and getting the number of the insurance company, so they were fine. But that's a pure example. That's a pure example of like when you're looking at a house, you have to look at it not from the perspective it's beautiful, because you're not buying it for yourself, you're buying it for your clients, but you got to protect them. Like, look at the features. What are certain things that, you know, and that's why I'm saying, make sure you really know your clauses and what they mean, because some clauses mean something and another clause can mean something slightly different. And if you are unsure, you know, reach out to Jay. Jay's phenomenal. Yeah. He's amazing. I called him a few times on some things that I've had, like wasn't sure which way I would go. So I think for a realtor coming in this business, like, really understand it is legal based. And you could get into trouble if you don't do your due diligence. So due diligence.
And for the record, Jay is, so we're with Keller Williams Edge. That's and in real estate, you got to plug in with a brokerage. And I love them, but we grow the business. I mean, brokerage is amazing, but it's up to us to grow the business. That just is. That's, you know, we get the support and everything like a franchise, but we're the ones that are growing it. So Jay's our broker of record, folks. Mm-hmm. And going back to what Cindy said, this is a legal-based industry. So, you know, one of the things I kind of always say is, you know, to a buyer or to somebody who's even considering selling, I want to know you a year before you even consider selling. Because, Cindy, we've had this where we're meeting with people and they put the money in the wrong place. But they think, or we're all proud of our homes, right? Oh, yeah. It's not ready yet. I know we all live in a home. You don't want to see. I don't have my home staged or decorated or anything, but we're just want to be able to give these people the right guidance so that when we do, and they can date us for a while so that they feel comfortable. Yeah, we're going to be the ones that we can get that property sold. We want to help them sell it for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And that's not just putting it onto one platform, but it's more important that we know them early on so that you can provide that.
Yeah.
And Cindy, a great example of it is someone that we just helped recently.
Yeah.
And you help them buy and sell because we met, I remember meeting them 2 years ago with some recommendations.
And they actually wanted to go a lot higher on price than I said. And I said, please don't, because, and this was just prior to COVID, like literally it was like they buy, and then when we were about to put their COVID hit, and I told them, I said, guys, we have to have an action plan with this COVID. Like, you've now bought, you're obligated. This is it. Like, we've got to sell.
Got to get now their home ready to sell. Yeah.
Right. And so we were very strategic on price, and it ended up selling in 4 days and over asking because they kind of wanted to go a little higher. And I said, guys, like, listen, you know what? Your house is always going to be worth what market value is. So even if you price it a little bit lower, the people are going to come and they're going to offer more because they're going to see the value there. And that's what happened. And they pretty much got where I told them they would be anyway. So
that leads me to another question. So when we understand kind of and we can see, what would we say to the average consumer, Cindy, about when it comes time to, pricing out a home? So we take the seller's direction, but we're there informing and guiding that seller of everything. Now that seller might say, oh my gosh, and then we're like, no, not realistic. But I'm really curious on advice that you might be able to advise.
This is funny because this I was going to mention this with a new agent, and I did this in the beginning. Don't take a listing just because it's a listing and the clients want, say, everything in the area is $1 million and the seller wants $1.5 million. If you cannot show them comparables and apples, oranges to oranges, like, you'll have someone says, oh, my neighbor sold for 1.4. Yeah, but they also gutted it and it's completely done gorgeous. Your house is still from the 1980s. So there's going to be a difference in value. Yeah. And I have learned now to walk away from people that are unrealistic. And it's so hard when you're a realtor because you got to put food on the table. You got to, live. No one wants to do that. But at the same time, you're spending a lot of money, like the brochures, the sign, like, doing your open houses. And you really, the expectation for the client, if you're accepting their terms, you've now created that expectation that their house is worth that. So I'd be very careful because I guarantee you, if you take it, the odds of you getting the listing second time around, you probably won't get it. Yeah. So be ready to walk away. And I do tell my clients, like, and you've been with me when I've said to people, absolutely not. Yeah. Like, I don't say it like absolutely not.
No. Show them, like, there's a way we deliver the message.
Yeah, like I just tell them, I'm like, I'd love to. Hey, wouldn't I love to get you 50,000 more? But unfortunately, if nothing else in the area has even come close to that, and there's one like literally next door that's sold for 60,000 less than what you're asking, but it's done nice and finished basement and totally remodeled, I can't justify. And again, you also have to take a look at the market, like what's going on with the market. So that's going to be something else that you look at. But, really, I'm going to be honest, go with your gut. Like I go with my gut. And if I feel that the clients are expecting something I can't deliver, I prefer, and I know some agents would say that's crazy, don't do that. But I would actually prefer to walk away and say, you know what, I wish you the best of luck. And I've seen other agents take on listings that I've walked away from, and it sits on the market for 6-7 months and it still doesn't sell.
Yeah. And I know we've had the other experience, because I remember this like yesterday. It was a few months ago, Cindy, and it was one of the inquiries that came in, and we spoke with them. And again, I go, I need to understand if they're working with a realtor or not. I need to understand there is information. I'm peeling an onion. I want to know where this person's at. It's not just like, that's how I call it, because people aren't just going to tell you. There are certain key questions that I have to ask because I want to know where this person is. And 90% of the time they're not ready. but there's very important things that we need to ask. Just it turned out that we had learned that she was not working with a buyer, but she did have her home, I think, on the market. So I said, absolute. I said, we can absolutely help you with where you may be looking to buy. And that was it. We can't, because we knew she was under agreement. So we kind of went forward. You had met with her, you went out, met with her, and then you found out that, yeah, her home had been sitting on the market for a little while. It hadn't sold, and she wasn't happy. She was not happy. And she came right out and said, I'm not happy. She told you, you were a professional. There's not a lot you can do. But then she's like, no, I need help. And so it was up to her to be able to cancel, like make that recommendation. But she had to do that on her own, which she did.
Yeah, she did that on her own. It was going to expire anyway. So
Yeah.
that was something. And yeah, and we ended up getting it sold in 2 weeks. So, and she was over the moon. And here's another thing too, like when you're dealing with a seller, you know, I usually have a price reduction. If they are totally what they want, I will bring a price reduction that if in 2 weeks we don't have one viewing, like we need to drop it down to this. And that's when I can kind of determine how motivated my sellers are, because if they're like, and agree with me that, okay, we'll try it. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, then we'll reduce the price.
Yeah.
If they're willing to sign that, I will work with them. But if I have some people who are like out of it, no, that's what I want, I'm not spinning my wheels. I mean, as much as I want to help them and I'd love for them to move on with life, but again, it really comes down to expectations and what they expect to get out of their house. Like everybody loves their house. Everybody thinks it's worth, you know, millions of dollars. Like we all think that way, but at the end of the day, it's really market that dictates your value.
Margaret, I mean, I remember learning it the hard way not long ago. It was a couple of years ago. We sold one of our first investment properties, and I was of the mind, I'd been following the market. It's worth a certain amount. And Cindy, I had to eat my own words. I had to eat my own words and realize that we got it sold, wonderful, but I had to be realistic because I also had to factor, ooh, it's also 100 years old, and sure, we had did this, and this, but then, you know, and just for the record, folks, I got this property before my license, so I didn't really follow best practice, and then I ended up putting in the wrong tenant, and then we had to evict the tenant, and it was a nightmare. But don't quit, I think, is the one thing. Just because you have one bad experience, it doesn't mean the whole thing else goes that way.
You know, and it was another example, like in Brawny, the clients that we had in Brawny, you know, they really thought they were going to get a certain amount, and when I gave them a number, they were just kind of like, and I said, guys, I'm going to tell you, if I'm wrong, we'll have 4 or 5, 6 offers, and the price will reflect if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it so happened that we did get 2 offers, but they weren't what they were expecting. They thought they were going to get. They were pretty much in line to where I thought they should be. And we ended up closing. Everything ended up being good. Again, we closed that. I think that was another one that closed in like 3 weeks. That was fast. But yeah, so like I said, I mean, I want to help sellers, but you know, you need to understand as a realtor, when you're dealing with people, there's so much emotion, and some people are more emotional than others. Some people can look at it bricks and mortar and understand and appreciate market value and know like their neighborhood, what they sold. And then you get some people that are so emotional that even if you tell them what you tell them, they can't, it doesn't compute. They're just like, but no. And so,
yeah,
you know, like I said, if you're an agent and you want to take a listing that's 200,000 overpriced, good luck, sit on the market for a little while. It's up to you if you want to do that, but my time's valuable, and I want to help my sellers at the end of the day. And I don't think I'm doing them justice by overpricing their house and sitting on the market, because the longer you sit, the worse it gets.
Absolutely.
Especially if you cancel and relist and price reduction every 3 months and every 2 weeks and 3 weeks. I had a neighbor in my old and where I used to live, their house was on the market for a year and a half. Instead of canceling and relisting, they kept dropping the price, and they like literally went from like almost 700 down to like under 6. That boggled my mind, because that really doesn't help your client, really doesn't. So
I know they say, like you say, it's and these are all statistics, folks. So Cindy knows me well. I like the data. I mean, as long as the data has been studied properly and it's, you know, based on accredited information. But they would say, like, if there's very few showings, and very few could be, like you said, might be 1 or 2, and that's not a lot. That's not what we want. But if you only get that over the course of the first, call it, week and a half, of you,
especially in a market like now.
especially as a seller. And this is just a little bit of information. As a seller, I would really be taking a close look at that, because the moment you put the price out there, it's a strategic reason you put a price out there. It's to draw traffic in. But people, so I would be very, very cognizant of that. And because he said, and are you just listing a home to get a listing so that you can have a sign on the lawn or a market, or are you listing it because you truly want to be holding that client's hand and you want to help that client get that property sold, just as we take our license to be able to help that person as if you were them getting the most amount. 99% of the time I say it for the most amount. There's these very rare times, Cindy, where we might have a client and it's not about the money, but it's about, I don't want this property to get sold to here. I want this property to be used for this reason. So the seller really does get to say who gets to be the buyer at the end of the day, not the agent, the seller.
Yep.
And
I've had a seller.
want to echo that to sellers too.
Yeah, I've had a seller where they've had 3 or 4 offers, and letters. You know how people write letters, and I've had a seller turn around and say no to all of them because they all wanted to like rebuild the house, and that he couldn't bear the thought of his house that his whole family, grandchildren were raised in for that, and he was just like, and I'm looking at him going, are you kidding me? Like, really? And he just couldn't do it. And I mean, I understand that because, like I said, that's when emotions come in, right? And we ended up finding a buyer for that property who loved the architecture of it, like the side split, and they wanted to keep that charm. They wanted to keep it that way. And we ended up selling it. So,
well, that fascinates you, but it reminds me, my sister who's in Toronto, and they lived downtown for a number of years, and then they sold it. They bought a commercial build, renoed it, and now they're living. They're dreaming. Now they're keep investing in where they are, but they're into vintage and they're into mid-century, to the point where my brother-in-law writes for the Globe. They're very plugged in to that industry, we'll say. So whenever someone is, they know a lot of architects in the city, but they've told me stories exactly like this. There's somebody that wants to sell, but they want to keep that preserved. And sometimes they'll call my brother or my sister-in-law and brother. He might write about it. They may know of a realtor that specializes in that. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to find buyers that are going to keep it intact. They don't want it.
charm.
They want that charm kept.
Especially in Toronto. I mean, God, in Toronto, there's some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful homes. The architecture is just stunning. And then all of a sudden you look right next door across the street and you see these uber modern, homes. And it's like I like modern. My house is modern where I live now, but those homes, some of those homes in Toronto are just so beautiful. And I would actually cry if I found someone to do that to my house, because you don't see that anymore. You see a lot of cookie cutter homes nowadays. You don't see the time and effort and energy. Like, just think of the time it took for them to do that. And it was all done by hand. Like, it's a shame when you see that happen. So I do feel for clients that want to keep their home the way it is. Like, I feel for them because I understand that. It's, we see too many people changing certain areas, becoming very modern, and it's a shame. But I mean, everybody has the right to do what they want. But I think, people who do want to keep their house that charm, they should sell it to the person who's willing to keep that, right?
Absolutely. And that's, I know, when Chantal and Dave had bought, because that's actually what they were doing. They were looking to buy a building that had vintage components in it. So they were a year, they had a budget. They were a year, they were willing to roll their sleeves up, but okay. So they finally found one, and it was on the Danforth. So they acquired it. They had a ton of work that they had to do, but the floors, and they're going to remember the name. My sister's an interior designer. I know you guys will. I'm not going to remember the name of the floor, but I will tell you whatever was on this floor. I can't tell you how much they searched to be able to get it brought back to normal. And they ended up.
Are they talking like the homes in Florida? Those, oh my God, I just had a mind block.
No.
It's got spells in it.
No, it was, I'm going to be able to send this and I can share it with you because she's got it posted on her
Yeah,
page.
I can't remember the name.
Yeah, there was a particular hardwood, but it was like, it was back in maybe the 40s that they had this. But bottom line, obviously, everybody that
Barn
owns,
boards?
pardon?
Like the old barn boards?
They weren't barn boards. There's a specific name for it. So I'll make sure I get it from you because I'll ping her to find out.
Okay.
Very, very thin in terms of the hardwood, but she had a name for it in the type.
Oh, I know what you mean. Okay, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. The slats. They're like little, they're like skinny.
They're very skinny, right? And there was
Yeah,
a specific name, specific floor.
yeah.
And of course, to restore it, it required whichever, and they sourced it and they got quote, it was astronomical. And then they thought, no, we're doing this. So they rented the equipment, they put all the masks on. I think it took them a month. And it
Yeah.
was not, but they got it back to normal.
It must
Why?
be
Because they
beautiful.
preserved it.
Is it the inlay forms where the corners have inlays and squares? A lot of those old homes have like their wood inlays and they have like beautiful decorative designs, wood on wood.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to keep chatting and I'm going to show you guys. Want to do
Because
that?
I love those floors. In Hamilton, there's quite a few places that have those floors. I've seen a few. There's a Century Home, I think in Stipley that we went to see the
Yeah.
other day, and the floors were like, man, if you brought this back to its original glory, this home would be absolutely stunning.
Well,
Stunning.
I will, okay, it's not gonna
Like the molding, the crown molding, like you can't find that anymore.
No, and it was pretty much that. So, I mean, I'll do a sneak peek. I'm not gonna kind of take us off track, but her store is 20th Century Ethel.
Yeah.
Chantal
She's got some
LeBlanc.
really
So
cool
if you,
stuff.
yeah, so if you Google it, you'll see it. You'll see the floor because she brought it all back to its original state. I know her husband used to he grew up in Scarborough, and his mom used to take him into Toronto when he was a young boy, and they would just walk. And she loved architecture. So obviously, growing up, he had this passion. He didn't go to school for, but he eventually just had the passion, did more in it, and all about kind of protecting and preserving. So they, if anybody's looking for true, authentic vintage, she is
Yeah.
the place. And she does Shopify.
It's incredible. Her store is incredible, actually. I mean, I've seen some of the things. I'm like, where did she find that? Like, I'm like, I don't think I've seen that since, oh my God, I don't want to say how old I am, but I was like, wow, like, where did some of this stuff is so cool. Like, it's so amazing. Like, she must really go hunting for.
She does. She loves this. My sister growing up, Cindy, and you learn to appreciate it as you get older, right? Because we're all here to help each other and you grow. So growing up, my sister's favorite pastime was going to Value Village. She would not, and beige, life's too boring for beige. She was always a very upbeat, kind of colorful, if you will. Yeah. And she went to school for journalism, came back, and then thought, I'm not really liking this, because she's very particular. She always had a passion of the 50s and 60s, that era. So she went back to school. She took a couple night school courses, took interior design, it clicked. So what she did was she married her passion for furniture, because furniture is really, and it was always the 50s and 60s. So she would study the architect and who made it, like right down to the nth degree. And then she went to school for interior design. She got in the workforce and she could not stand the AutoCAD cookie cutter, but she did it long enough to, I don't want to do that. And then jump and basic courage. There was an opportunity for her to buy a business, and they were selling mid-century furniture, but they were more of a consignment shop, and they were in Toronto, and they were selling for about 40,000. And my sister did the due diligence and jumped in. So she bought the business. And I have to say, Cindy, and you're aware of this, because being in this industry, we're running a business. We're running a small business is what we're doing. So whether you're independent or whether you're running a team, you're running a business. The brokerage isn't running your business. You're running your business. We have to license, we have to plug into the brokerage. So my sister kept that store alive. It wasn't about them making money. It was about growing, because she knew the vision she wanted to grow. Where like the typical, I'm going to lease for so many years, and then I finally, can I buy a building? Maybe I can buy a building. You get talking, like we said, think and grow rich. You talk about it, think about it, talk about it, think about it, believe, go through some pain and frustration, talk about it, do a bit closer. And her dream came to reality.
Mm-hmm.
but she thrives on that's what she does. And she's got a few pickers, but she goes. So she's got her different places. And over the years, she's built up her sources.
Yeah, I think on Facebook she was in some grandma's basement actually the other day. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm in some grandma's basement going through some really cool stuff." So, I mean, I think for me that would be kind of interesting because I kind of like looking for really unique and authentic things. Like well, younger when I had more time, but we used to do antiquing. And up on highway, up on Dundas past 6, there was it
Oh,
Milner's, I can't remember, but we used to go there like all the time. And but
there's there was a big one just outside of Hamilton because I remember when my girls were small, Cindy, we used to go, and my sister told me about it because I like 17th century, like cast iron, 17th century, but I like to mix a little bit of the old with the new. But of course, again, I'm having one of those brain farts. I can't remember the name of it. It's a
yeah,
C.
the one I use, I can't remember anyways, because I haven't been, I drive by it all the time when I'm going out that way, but I can't remember the name. But yeah, it is fun. Like when you do have that passion, like, I mean, this is what I say, and to anybody who's listening out there, really find your passion. Like, you know, life is too short and you can do whatever you feel like doing and really find your passion. And when you find your passion, it doesn't become work. It really doesn't.
When
Like,
you're out there helping and serving, you're and growing. And as I said, Cindy, this is an industry where this is the first time somebody buys a home, they are an investor. They're investing in themselves. So if it's okay. It doesn't cost you money to do homework. So research, speak to a few different realtors.
yeah.
I have no problem, Cindy, when we connect with somebody, if they're like, okay, you know what, I'm not too sure. I would interview them. Gosh, I want to write the playbook on telling them what to interview them and what to ask them because it's a big decision and it's not a transaction. And when
You
you're thinking
gotta
about
work with the right realtor, like, and even myself, I've worked with a few buyers, the connection's not there. I can feel it. I'm walking around with them and I'm like, you know what? I want to help them. So if I can't feel the bond and I can feel them not feeling me and vice versa, we do have other people that we do work with. And I have no problem because really at the end of the day, it's not about me. It is about them. So if I need to align them with someone else that works better, because we all don't get along with everybody. Everybody knows that we don't. There's some people that like you and some people that don't like you. It's just life. It is what it is. So if I'm not the right fit for these people, I will refer them out to somebody else. And we have a few people that we refer out, and I have no problem doing that because really at the end of the day, it is always about the client.
always, 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 always.
And that's what it comes down to.
And for all the customers that are out there watching, for all these people that are even considering, you don't bother us. So you are supposed to be contacting.
You.
Like that's why it's okay. It's not a bother because that's what we're here for, folks. We don't get paid until you're in that home.
That's right.
So, Cindy, you're coming on again. Love you to pieces. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just have an awesome on what we're going to be. And
I got to close a deal.
Cross the fingers.
Oh, it's going to close. I'm just waiting for them to sign the NOF. So this should be done in the next couple hours. So I just got to have a conversation with my clients, but yeah, they're excited. Home inspection went perfect.
Oh, good. Very, very good. So, well, everybody that's watching, if you guys have questions, if you ever just want to, Cindy's one incredible agent. So if you ever just have questions or you want to shout out, just pick up the phone. Cindy, CC Realty, and you'll get connected.
Yeah. And you need to ask me anything. I have no problem answering any questions that you may have. Even for agents out there, like new agents, like certain things to watch out for, I'll answer them. I have no problem sharing my knowledge with anybody. You have some realtors where, oh my God, I'm not going to tell you anything. They don't want to tell you. Well, the only way to learn is to discuss and to talk about it. And any buyers, any sellers out there, if you have any questions or you just need me to come by, see your place, I'll come by. I have no problem doing that. That's what I'm here for.
That's what, we're doing a market evaluation isn't sort of, oh my God, we're going to get ready to sell. No, you just really need to get a benchmark. So I would say every homeowner every year should get a market evaluation and then follow the market, get a relationship, trust your realtor, because you're going to know by them if it's going up or down. And then you can get an idea as to where the value is with your home, if you will.
Like,
So,
I mean, like Michelle said, like really, know your market. And if you have a good relationship with your realtor, they can send you statistics in your area, like every week or every month, whatever you want. We have a client in particular, and you know who I'm talking about, the one that bought the new build, the one that lives downtown Hamilton.
yes.
He was thinking about selling about a year ago, and I kind of said no.
Oh, that was a phenomenal. And just folks, we'll just share this quick story, hun, because I think that there's some real. So this last little bit is this was it was someone who had connected with us, and we it was through digital marketing. We do all of that on our own. Came to us, and first time home buyer. So within a short period, we helped him find his first home. He was renting in Toronto, and he had saved up. I think he had quite a bit saved up. He was a young professional, and he had never lived in Hamilton before, Toronto. But we helped him. We helped him buy. And what we did, Cindy, you cannot change a location. Agent, location, locate. You can't change the location. So if the property has what the buyer's looking for, but there's a few things that are stopping them, be prepared to think outside of the box. And what we have, and we already knew, we have a few contractors we work with. So I just knew that the few things that could get changed, we could maybe factor that into to what it would be. And maybe he was able to get a mortgage that would cover all that. So it just so happened that that's what we had to do. So we did that. He was able to get his mortgage. He did a bridge. He didn't move in right away. It took him about 3 weeks. He finally moved in, but he had the bathroom done. He had the floors all redone. Mm-hmm. So wonderful. He's in, all things are going great. And then he connected with us, connected with you, Cindy. And what is he thinking about doing? He's thinking about buying new, but he's like, I've just not done this before. So I said, we're really good at holding your hand, and we're going to hold your hand right across to the finish line. And then Cindy, we met with them. He was telling you, and then, he basically said, this is what you think. You said no. So that day into the next day, you helped him. And he said afterwards, I think if I'm correct, Ryan was able to get Ryan actually, he offered a testimony.
Yeah.
Because he said, I wouldn't have known half of this.
Mm-hmm. Position of townhouse, like visitors parking, where is it proximity to your house? Like there's certain things like you got to watch for. And when you look at a map, a lot of people don't look at the map. They look at the subdivision, the houses. They don't see all the other things. And because I've been doing this since I was 33, it's like buying a condo. Some people don't realize, where's the emergency doors? Where's the overhead door garage? Where's the garbage? All those things will contribute to your bottom line when you're trying to sell. Plus, you don't want to be sitting late at night hearing the garage open and close every time someone comes in and out of the car. Like, these are little things that you have to watch for. Like, where's the garbage, the chute in your building? Is it right next to your unit? Is the emergency exit right next to your unit? Like, little things like that a lot of people don't look for. And that's kind of like, because like I said, I've been doing this for 33. I've learned through my mistakes. I bought certain things where I'm like, if I should have just thought ahead a little bit more. But what was really interesting is he was thinking of selling after he bought. Remember him renting?
Yes.
And I told him no. And I said to him, listen, please don't do that. I said, because he was worried about values and everything like that. And I think he's going to be more than happy, actually, because in that building, there's been quite a few units that have sold in a pretty good price point. And I think he's going to be more than happy that he made the decision not to sell at that time.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, as I said, with your gut. So all being said, I'm absolutely having you back, and I'm going to let people kind of get on with their evening, and just thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you. I'm blessed to be on your team as well. It's fun. Like I said, to me, this is not work. This is enjoyable. And, I'm probably going to be heading out in the next like half an hour anyways, because we got to go back. The AC wasn't working when we did our home inspection, so we're checking it out again. So, but like I said, like to me, this is fun. And, when you love your work, it's love your passion. It's not work. And that's what I do. I love it. It is my passion.
And you know what, Cindy, the one thing I'll say this last thing. is we don't tie to the outcome. It's not about got to get the sale. It's about making sure as we're going through the process that, yep, that's right, that's right, that's right. And then we know we've got them across the finish line. So that being said, just thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Tammy, Michelle.
Bye, everybody.
Have an awesome night and stay cool.
Try and stay cool.
Okay.
It's so hot. All right.